I wanted it to be the type of experience where someone can walk up and look at all the flowers and say, I want one of those and one of those. But I hadn't done that before, so I learned on the fly. And I think it's so important to learn on the fly. And I think in this day and age with YouTube and all these tutorials that are so accessible, it really leads to people having a failure to launch.
What would it look like to design a business around what truly makes you happy? That's exactly what Vienna Hintze set out to do after leaving behind corporate America and her successful remote marketing agency. With her therapist's encouragement, she reflected on what mattered most to her: being outside, having in-person connections, working with her hands, and driving a vintage truck. The result? The launch of Main Street Flower Truck, a side hustle turned into full-time business that's as unique as it is inspiring. Like me, you might think her business is all about selling flowers from the back of her vintage truck, but as it turns out, that's actually only a small part of how she generates revenue. Vienna has created a blooming business through staging events like weddings, film shoots, corporate events, and even high-profile gigs, like a promotional event for a Gwen Stefani album release. In this episode, Vienna opens up about the mindset struggles she faced, including delaying getting out there and selling flowers because of fear. She talks about the numbers behind the business, the learning curve that comes with managing flowers, and how she's embraced trial and error as a natural part of growing her business. Not to mention problem solving. If you've ever struggled to get past the planning phase and just start, Vienna's story will inspire you to take that leap. We jump into the conversation as I ask Vienna Hintze how she found her beloved vintage truck, Fiona.
When I was in college, I have some older cousins, and one of them posted on Instagram. They were out east on Long Island, and there was a flower truck there. And I kind of bookmarked it in my head of that's pretty cool. I think they have so much character. They have all of these stories of past owners and the journeys that they've been on. That's why I love them so much.
Well, tell us how you found yours.
Yeah, so I came out to LA because my lease in New York ended. And instead of signing a new lease, I decided to travel and went to Europe for a few weeks and then came to LA to visit my sister. I was supposed to be out here for 3 weeks, and 2 weeks in, I signed a lease on an apartment and moved in with my carry-on suitcase. I didn't live far from my sister anymore. And my parents then started coming out to California to visit us quite a bit. And every time they come to California, we take a day trip to Ojai, which is about an hour and a half north of LA.
Okay.
It's this adorable little desert town. And one of our trips up there, I had told my parents that I had an idea for a flower truck, and I was driving and took a turn down a street, and before the first stop sign, there was a bright green pickup truck with a for sale sign in the window.
I love that.
I know. And it's crazy because the truck made everyone in the car kind of take a second, because in high school, I had driven a pickup truck that was bright green. And you don't see a bright green pickup truck every day.
No.
I know. So we called the number, and the sweetest woman answered the phone and said, I'm at the grocery store, but I'll be back in 45 minutes if you can meet me back there, and then you can test drive it. So we met her back there. My dad and I took the truck for a little spin, and it was perfect. And at that moment, I put my hands on the hood of the truck and looked up at the sky and said, please, universe, God, whoever's out there, if I'm supposed to buy this truck, can you please give me a sign? As we were about to leave, she said, one more thing that I should mention. And before I say what she mentions, let me add that my name is Vienna. And when I moved out to LA and I would introduce myself to anyone, they'd think I said Fiona. And it was so strange because that has never in my life happened to me. And all of a sudden in LA, it was happening constantly.
Really? Wow. So not just once.
Yeah. No. Almost every time I would introduce myself. And so she mentioned, before you guys leave, I should tell you that we bought the truck from a woman who drove it over from Colorado, and she named the truck. So the truck comes with the name Fiona.
No way.
I was in shock. I asked her to repeat it. She said, yeah, Fiona, like from Shrek, because the truck is so green. And after that moment, no one ever mistook my name for Fiona again, which is another kind of funny little universe wink.
Wow.
But
Because, yeah, reunite or you were united with
yeah,
your Fiona.
exactly.
What's the make and model of the vehicle?
Yes, it's a CST20 Chevrolet
What year?
and 1969.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, she's perfect. And another little crazy tidbit is that I thought about the truck and went back to LA, was thinking about it for a week, and then went back to buy it on May 12th, 2023.
Okay.
And recently, I was going back in my camera roll and my family on a different trip to LA. We all went to Ojai a year before, and I have a photo in my camera roll from May 12th, 2022 of my truck in the back of their driveway before it was even for sale.
No way. You just happened to take a photo at that location that caught
Yeah.
Fiona. That's crazy.
Yeah, because we were walking around in Ojai and we were walking on the street with all these orange orchards. And when we passed the truck, I mean, I have a million photos of trucks on my phone at this point, but I remember seeing that one and I have like 3 or 4 pictures of it just from different angles in her driveway. It's crazy. From the same exact day a year before.
So you're looking at those pictures from 2022 and they're saying, I'll see you back in a year, Vienna.
Yeah. I like to think that Fiona said, you're paying attention to me. I'm going to make sure.
I'm going to make you a little bit miserable first so that you really
Right.
want to do this and you come and find
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. But it's important to feel miserable. I mean, what better catalyst than to
Sure.
change your whole life?
Absolutely. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
So you got the truck, you got this idea. You have
Yeah.
no background in retailing flowers, though, correct?
Correct.
So where did you even know where to start?
I started by going on Facebook Marketplace, finding vintage vessels, picking up different containers and the chalkboards and designing the logo and making the stickers and putting the website together, getting my Instagram handles. And this is where you can really see that I have a marketing background.
Yes, yes. And storytelling.
And after having all these pieces together, it came to a moment where it got a little bit excessive and I was putting off the inevitable. Maybe I'll make another version of the stickers first. Oh, but I can't pop up yet. I need business cards. And okay, but before I do it the first time, I should practice wrapping, or maybe I should have more posts on my Instagram before I pop up. And it came to a point where my boyfriend said he came over that day and said, you know what? Today's the day. You have to do it. And I said, ha ha ha, there's no way I'm doing it today. And he said, if you don't do it today, I don't believe that you're ever going to do it. And that's all I needed because there's a challenge.
Wow. That's pretty powerful.
It was. And by the time we went down to the flower district and I picked out all my flowers and found a location to pop up at, and which, I had spent weeks getting permits for different locations. I had all of the pieces, but just wasn't ripping the Band-Aid off because I wanted it to be so perfect. But one of the parts of this that I'm most proud of from this whole journey is that first day, because I didn't know how to put a bouquet together for someone else. I knew how to put it together for myself, and I knew the formula I wanted to follow.
Okay.
I wanted it to be the type of experience where someone can walk up and look at all the flowers and say, I want one of those and one of those. But I hadn't done that before, so I learned on the fly. And I think it's so important to learn on the fly. And I think in this day and age with YouTube and all these tutorials that are so accessible, it really leads to people having a failure to launch.
Yes.
And I know that because I experienced it myself. I
Yep.
was waiting for everything to be perfect before starting. And that first day was so funny too, because I had my chalkboard with the price on it, $7 for a bouquet, just to prove to myself that people were going to buy them, even if I was taking a huge loss in
Right.
profit.
I was going to say $7 is pretty cheap.
And the bouquets were pretty big.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was ridiculously cheap. And whoever stopped at the truck that first day got away with such a steal. But hey, it was invaluable to me because it was just creating those new pathways in my brain of number one, I can do this. Number two, people are interested. And number three, now I've done it. Next time's
Yes.
going to be so much easier. And it was. And every single time I do this now, it gets easier and easier because now it's just ironing out the details.
Well, and you know what to look for because there are, as you've probably discovered, some flowers that will last a lot longer,
Yeah.
do better, some
Oh,
that you
yeah.
can't even put together in the same pot. So I guess you were learning some of these things as you went along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, there's a reason why if I have marigolds at the truck, they're on the truck with me because if you look at a marigold the wrong way, the stem snaps. So there are all these different things that I've learned about, people never buy lilies because most people in LA have pets and lilies are toxic to pets. So I don't carry lilies. And, just these little tidbits that along the way
Did you have one of those learning experiences?
with selling lilies.
Or with anything like that? Like, oh, those marigolds don't like going in the back of the pickup truck on a country road for a couple of
Mm.
concessions. Or,
Oh, yeah. So marigolds are some of my favorite flowers. And the first handful of pop-ups, I always had them. And I was having to throw out 75% of what I was buying because the
ouch.
stems just don't hold up. They really cannot withstand any transit, any time in the sun, any rustling or justling.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know you said that you also have a background in flowers.
Yeah, we were modeling kind of what you're doing. So it
Cool.
sounds like maybe describe first what it is that you do, and then I'll jump in.
Great. Yeah. So for my pop-ups, I will pull up with the truck full of flowers and then set up my buckets, and people can come up and put together their custom bouquet and whatever they think is catching their eye and whatever means a lot to them.
Yeah. And you're selling it by the stem.
And I'm selling it by the bouquet usually.
Okay.
But people sometimes come up and say, "Can I buy by the stem?" And I always say yes. Or I just give them a stem. Yeah. Is that what you were modeling?
Yes and no. So my understanding at the time, and we're going back quite a few years now, is that in Europe, having flowers around all the time is very commonplace. You always have them in your home. And that was me. I absolutely love flowers. And so rather than rely on a lot of flower arranging, we wanted
Yeah.
to provide people value by basically doing what you did only in a physical space. So we built a walk-in cooler that people could walk into and then pick the individual, and then we would charge by stem.
Cool.
But the traditional florists in the community did not like it. They started a radio campaign against us.
Mm.
And so we had to counter that, but we did, and it was a lot of fun. One quick
Wow.
story: we had strategically chosen just before Valentine's Day to open the retail store. We did actually mostly wholesale. This is the retail piece. And the marketing poster I did described a dozen roses for $29.95, which was unheard of around then, certainly around
Right.
Valentine's, and did a mail drop in the neighborhood. And when we opened that day, there was a lineup around the corner for our $30 roses. Anyway, this one
Ooh.
young guy comes in and he said, "I love my wife so much, and she is so sweet to me. She makes me breakfast every morning, except this morning when I came down for breakfast, the only thing on my plate was your poster."
Oh,
So that's why I'm here, he said. So
that's amazing.
it was so cute. It was so cute. But yeah, we did all sorts of fun
that.
stuff like that.
Oh,
So I appreciate the emphasis on flowers and having that choice. But you were describing LA weather. That's
Mhm.
usually not conducive to fresh cut flowers in pots of water. How do you deal with
Yeah.
that?
A lot of learning.
Okay.
I have I have had a lot of trial and error of picking up certain types of flowers, putting them in the sun, an hour later having to throw out that whole bucket.
Oof.
There is so much trial and error that goes into starting a business in general.
Yes.
And I recently read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And a tidbit that has stuck with me so immensely from that is that in life, you're always going to have problems. And what you have to do is pick the problems you don't mind having. And for me, figuring out which flower type is going to stay in the sun and which I'm going to have to throw away, I will pick that problem 50 million times over, as opposed to in marketing, chasing down the financial department of a company that we did work for 6 months ago who still hasn't paid an overdue invoice. And I have a team that needs to pay their rent. Oof. I
Mm,
love what I do and how immediate the transactions are. I love that it's just me by myself.
yes.
The accountability is right there. And, pros and cons to that too.
Yeah.
Uh, If if I'm not booking events and if I'm not doing well, I have one person to look into the mirror and say,
That's right. But something tells me too, somebody is going to hear this and think, I know her the solution. And they'll reach out to you and I with a solution for the sun problem.
oh,
Whether it's like,
well,
I don't know, little umbrellas or an awning you can build or something.
it's funny you say that because my mom called me one day and said, "What are you doing? Why do you still not have an umbrella?" And I thought, "Oh, of course."
Perfect. Do you remember your first sale ever?
I do.
Tell us about it.
The first sale was amazing because it was a girl and her boyfriend, and she came up to the truck and asked if I was selling flowers. And I think I said yes so enthusiastically that she got a little bit frightened about what was happening. But she stuck around and I made her a bouquet. And as I was handing it to her after wrapping it up, she said, "Thank you so much. It's actually my birthday, and this meant a lot to me." And I have a little Polaroid of us from that day, but she doesn't know it was my first sale. And
Really? Aw.
I have to maybe find a way to find her someday.
Yes, yes. How much do you sell a bouquet for?
I like to cap it at around $25 a bouquet. I
Okay.
don't believe in price gouging the bouquets, but this is where I run into a little bit of a funny situation because I want the flowers that I sell to be extremely accessible. I want people to be able to buy them no matter who's walking up to the truck.
Hmm.
That's something that has been embedded in the business from when I was first conceptualizing it.
Okay.
The downside to that is when I'm popping up by myself and just selling flowers for the day, I'm generally breaking even on flower sales or maybe making $100 or $200 for the day. And that's on a really good day with a ton of flowers being
Right.
sold.
Okay.
So I do rely a lot on events and paid gigs.
Okay.
And I have a ton of fun with those too, because then the marketing side of my brain can come alive and we co-brand the truck and make custom stickers and custom wrapping paper. It's really exciting for me.
Give us an example on an event, what that would look like.
Yeah, the one that's coming to mind right away is I just had a pop-up with Gwen Stefani. It was
Whoa.
massive. I know. I know. It was a huge moment for my little flower truck.
Oh my God.
I got an email from someone at Interscope Records, and they said, "I have an A-list celebrity who's interested in doing an event with you. Can you get on a call?" And I said, "You can call
Are you
me
kidding? No, I'm too busy.
anytime."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I was like, "Actually, my entire calendar is free for the next 4 years if you just name your
Yeah.
time and place."
How did they find you? What was that connection?
Yeah, they saw an interview that I did a few months back. And it's funny how quickly things can snowball because I had a TikTok video that did very well. And from that, a few different publications found me. And I
Oh,
did a couple interviews, and from that, I've had bookings come through and events. It's amazing how social media and just the power of the internet can work.
fantastic.
But fast forward to Gwen Stefani. So her team reached out and said, we are trying to put together some press events for Gwen because she has a album release coming up for an album called Bouquet. So we saw your truck and thought,
Wow.
awesome. Yeah. So we started putting the details together and how this would all come to fruition. And I mean, it was a tornado of a day because the whole thing went so fast. And with Gwen coming in, she pulled up and stood in the back of my truck, made a speech to her fans that were all standing there, and then myself and part of her team and even a few friends that I just roped into it for the day. I mean, we were all handing out bouquets to the people who are waiting, and we handed out 200 bouquets in the span of maybe an hour. And Gwen went around and said hi to every single person that was there. It was amazing. It was so much
Wow.
fun.
You
But
had
it
your
was,
business card or something attached
yeah,
or divorce. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, but we had the whole thing branded soup to nuts. I mean, there was a Gwen Stefani banner on the truck. There was custom stickers. There was custom wrapping paper. We had videographers documenting the whole thing, photographers getting behind the scenes shots. It was awesome. I love
Wow.
putting together a full production like that. It's using all the parts of my
Hmm.
past experience. And for that, another great tidbit that I've gotten over the years, my old manager, he would always say, everything you learn, you're going to use again. So never feel like you're ever starting from square one. It's a corporate jungle gym, not a corporate ladder, and make sure you never forget that.
It's a
And
great
that
quote.
it's awesome because it's carried me through quite a number of life changes where if there was any doubt in my mind, that got wiped out right away. Shout out to Corey Smock.
Well, that's great because obviously you got the marketing piece, so they knew
Yeah.
or you knew that you had that piece nailed. So how did you price something like that?
Most of my pricing takes into account the quantity of flowers that we're going to be sourcing,
Okay.
types of flowers, whether it's wildflowers or something more expensive like roses or lilies, the amount of labor, the amount of add-ons, like anything custom that we're creating for the event,
Yes.
and location from where I live.
Okay.
Because something that's going to take me an hour to drive to in a 69 Chevy pickup is going to be quite expensive to get there. So
Yes.
that goes into account too. Yeah. So after all is said and done, I like to give people when they reach out about an event, I like to give a range, on the low end of things, we can do this if people are going to be buying the bouquets and we're not giving them out for free. On the high end, if we want to co-brand the whole truck and have the whole thing done up and we're giving away a full truckload of flowers, then it's going to be X amount. But again, I mean, at the end of the day with the truck, I just want to be doing more with the truck. So
Right.
I like to keep the pricing a little bit flexible so that no matter who's looking to book something, it's possible.
Right. And for something like that, I mean, really, event, you could be charging something that might be an hour where it's a few $100 all the way to really thousands or tens of thousands, depending on
Right.
what they want, right?
Right.
Interesting. Well, let's drill down on the numbers a
Sure.
little bit. How much did it cost you to get started?
The truck cost $10,000.
Okay.
The buckets and stickers and everything, when all was said and done, I think that was about 1,000. Tax on the truck was 1,000. What else? Let's see.
Basically just marketing,
Yeah, then
right?
marketing. Again, lucky me for having a background in social media marketing. A lot of that I already knew how to do.
Because now it's just basically flowers, gas, you mentioned,
Yeah,
insurance, obviously,
right.
permit.
Here's the thing. A lot of people reach out to me and say, "Hey, I want to start a flower truck. How do I start?" And there's a lot about the way that I do this that makes it profitable. And a lot of that has to do with me being in LA because a huge stream of income for the truck are also bookings that I don't know are possible in a suburban town in a different state.
Right.
Because, we have a lot of gigantic corporate events that happen here. There are music video shoots, there are films being shot. I'm pitching the truck for all of these types of events, and the truck gets booked by itself without the flowers, it gets booked with the flowers, and when all of that is said and done, then I'm able to make a living with my truck.
Got it. Yes.
Yeah. So as far as the numbers go, if I'm popping up somewhere on my own and selling flowers without it being an event, I'm usually either breaking even or making a couple $100s. On the high end, if it is an event that is fully produced, we're doing everything, including handing out bouquets for free. Maybe it's a couple truckloads of flowers.
Yes.
The biggest event that I've done was, I believe, 6,000 for the day.
Mm-hmm.
So
As far as what you build, but then you've got the cost of the flowers and, like you said, the gas
exactly.
and everything like
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, for something like that, I'm spending several $1,000s on flowers.
Right. So you probably netted around a couple grand or something that day?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
actually not just that day because you're ordering the flowers, you're planning.
And I'm usually having to hire someone to help and, prepping all those flowers and doing all of the behind the scenes floral work.
So say you are doing a pop-up at a location.
Yeah.
Walk us through from the point where, okay, so you've got the permit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to pre-order the flowers? Are you just picking up what's ever available that day? How does that work?
Yeah, I'm usually picking up what's available that day.
Okay.
But when people want specific types of flowers, like for this Gwen Stefani pop-up, we matched the flowers to the lyrics of her songs. So we had sunflowers, garden roses, purple irises, dahlias, normal roses. So ahead of time, I did order those flower types to make sure they had it. But otherwise, I'm just picking up whatever's the freshest from the flower district. And then once I get home with the flowers, then the clock really starts of cleaning each flower stem, cutting them, dividing them out into buckets, making sure everything is watered and shaded for the pop-up, which is usually the next day. I like to get everything prepped the day before.
Do you have refrigeration back home for all these flowers, or are you just trying to keep them in the coolest spot you've got?
Coolest spot I've got,
Okay.
which in the winter time and usually spring and fall as well, they can be outside. But in the summer, I have turned my apartment into a walking ice box,
I bet.
which is another expense. I mean,
Yes.
pumping the AC that drastically. Yeah, so that prep time, depending on how many flowers are required for the event, can be anywhere from 1 hour if it's a small flower haul to about 7 or 8 hours if it's a full truckload. And especially if roses are involved because they take so much time to clean.
And then from there, the pop-up would be the next day?
Yeah. So then in the morning, I wake up and put all the flowers into the truck, make sure that they're all still doing well and everyone still has water. And then I drive to the location and set everything up, usually half an hour before the start time. And then if it's a collaboration with a product, sometimes we'll put the products on the truck and in between the flowers, make it look very cohesive. And then it's go time.
And then you hopefully sell out?
Yes.
Yes.
I usually do.
Do you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if not the day of, then I'll go back out the next day to some of my favorite spots and sell the rest.
I was going to ask you what you did with leftover flowers. So that's it. You'll hit some of your other spots, maybe even discount it so that you're getting something versus a total loss.
Exactly. Yeah, so I usually sell them the next day, sometimes discounted if need be. And then if I have to be out of town or can't sell the rest, then I have a backup plan with a women's shelter in downtown LA, and I'm able to drop off the rest of the flowers there.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh, what a great idea, Vienna.
Thanks. It's great because people come up to the truck with some really awesome ideas, and I feel lucky that I get to put some of them in place.
Wow, and all that joy that you bring. And obviously, you have a passion for the flowers. I caught that when you said that make sure everyone has water.
Which is also what makes it kind of tricky sometimes if they all wilt in the sun or if the petals all shed because they're just too old from the flower district or whatever. It's my responsibility to make sure that the best flowers make it to their new
Yes,
home. And
yes. Did
yeah.
you have to qualify somehow in order to buy from the flower district?
So I have a vendor there that I have a relationship with, and we're able to do discounts for bulk orders. That's how my flower ordering ends up netting out for me. But there are other parts of the flower district that do wholesale pricing, and that's been something that I've wanted to look into and see how to get the qualifications for that. But I've been happy with the pricing that I've been getting from my connection, and I love working with them so much that I don't want to switch. So,
That's part of the attraction of this business for you is the people that you're connecting with.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my God.
let's take a quick look at revenues. What are they sitting at for you?
My months fluctuate a ton,
Okay.
and there are definite peak seasons and ebbs and flows in the calendar. The hottest flower times of the year are definitely Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and then the summer with events. And then it's just a matter of making sure I'm being financially smart to ride out the dip months. The most I've made in a month was 16,000, and that was before expenses or anything.
Okay.
But the dip months I've made zero. So it really
It's
ebbs
all
and
over the place.
all over the place. And that's also the fun of it for me. And that's why I love my job so much now is that there's always a puzzle unfolding in front of me. And there are tons of variables that I can tweak and change and try and finesse to try to make every month profitable and make sure that, if it's a dip month with flowers, make sure I have some bookings for photo shoots of people renting the truck or music videos.
You're really creating this business as you go along. What's working and what other revenue streams that you can pull in.
Yeah,
So for the last 12 months, what were gross earnings?
good question. I would say I'm in the higher five-figure mark at the moment.
What percentage would you say is from the film industry, film and events?
I would say film is coming in at about 30%. Events are coming in at 50%,
Okay.
if not more, maybe 60. And then the last 10% is coming from the,
So where do the pop-ups show up in this? Is that the 10%?
yeah, if I'm popping up by myself, that's definitely in the 10%.
Because what I'm thinking is that's how this whole thing started, wasn't it? That
Yeah.
was the idea for the business was the pop-ups.
Yes. The initial blueprint was to pop up and sell flowers, definitely to make some money, but also as a way to raise awareness of the truck so it could get booked for events. And I don't want to always say events because that umbrella is very large. That's also encompassing things like weddings and parties and little bouquet bar nights with a group of girls. Then, yeah, then different classes and of course the bigger corporate setting pieces, but that events were definitely has a lot under it.
When you say classes, is that like arranging the bouquets? Oh,
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
fun.
It's teaching people how to build bouquets or build arrangements. And so that if they're at Trader Joe's and they see flowers, they can come home and know exactly what to do with them.
Perfect. So when you started the business, was it always your intention to do these events, or did it start as doing these pop-ups and then the events became an add-on as far as another idea?
Yeah, the events were always part of what I wanted to do, but I didn't realize how big of a percentage they were going to have in my business. So as I've continued on, it's definitely become a bulk of how I'm spending my time, but that's in my list for 2025. It's figuring out a way to do more pop-ups on my own and have that be profitable so that I can have that always as a way to make some money.
Because right now it almost seems like a marketing line item doing the
Right. It
pop-ups
is.
to get word
It,
out.
it really
Yeah.
is. Because sometimes I get disheartened and discouraged before doing a pop-up on my own, just knowing how much physical labor goes into each one.
Yes.
I mean, I'm coming out of a pop-up and some of my I can't bend some of my fingers because I have thorns stuck in between everywhere. And it's exhausting. I mean, you're really on for 12 hours plus the 12 hours of prep that goes into that and the 12 hours after that of making content cut downs from everything that you've done that day.
Right.
So it is a very big physical and emotional lift to do one of these pop-ups. And so to keep me going, sometimes I'm just saying, you know what, we're having an awareness day and that's okay. And I don't have to make $1,000. It's okay to make $75 at the end of the day. I'm going to be meeting 100 people, 200 people, however many people are stopping at the truck that day. You
Right.
never know who you're going to meet. And that's how I have booked a ton of my events was just from meeting people on the street.
And how long have you had the business now?
So just a little bit over a year now. So that's why also I'm figuring out a lot of the pieces still. And I feel very lucky that the truck has been so successful thus far.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's work in progress.
Because at this point, this is your full-time focus, right? This is no longer a side hustle.
It became my full time in the beginning of this year in February. I still had clients through my agency. And because of that, I was not spending as much time as I needed to
Right.
on building the flower truck. So it was a little bit of a leap of faith moment where I thought to myself, you know what? I know I'm not going to make a lot of money from this right off the bat. And who knows how long that's going to last. But I am so much more invested in this flower truck than I am with anything else. And I owe it to myself to try.
And despite what is promoted on social media, if you take a look at almost any of the interviews I've done with our side hustle heroes,
Yeah.
it's taken them a long time to build up to the point of where it's something substantial. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen in the weeks and the months. It's
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. I
And
appreciate you saying that and that reminder.
look, you've already done an event for Gwen Stefani.
I know. Come on.
So
I'm
come
very
on.
What gets better than Gwen Stefani?
What are your future plans for Fiona in Vienna?
Yeah, I have a lot of plans. I mean, people ask a lot if I'm going to franchise it. I don't want to. I love this business being just me and my gal Fiona. So I want to see how far that can go. I want to see how many bookings a week I can do and feel good about. I want to see if I can get Fiona into a movie. That would be awesome.
I just had a flash of her in an animated version.
Oh, oh man, maybe I'll write a children's book about Fiona.
There you go.
I love that.
So many different avenues you could go.
I know. And I'm having a lot of fun just kind of going where my gut is saying I should
Mhm.
and going where it feels right. That's another big piece of the flower truck is kind of being gentle with myself. Coming from such a corporate world in advertising, it's really nice to have the flexibility day in and day out to say, do I want to be doing this today? Do I want to be making social media content today? Or do I really want to be out selling flowers? And if the answer is flowers, then I get to go out and do that. Or if I'm having a exhaustion week and I can't bring myself to go out and pop up with the truck, then I'm able to batch content from my couch. It's nice to have the flexibility and to be able to work with myself and start figuring out what my system wants, and not forcing it. Because for so long I was just forcing myself forward.
Right.
And that's a fast track to burnout.
And although that not forcing it can be scary, sounds like it's working for you.
Yeah.
What's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, Vienna?
Yeah, you can connect with me on Instagram, TikTok, also Pinterest, YouTube. I'm on everything. You can find it at Main Street Flower Truck and online at mainstreetflowertruck.com.
Awesome. And we'll definitely make sure those links are in the show notes. And I want to include a picture of Fiona in there as well, if that's
Awesome.
okay with you.
Please do.
Awesome.
Beautiful gal.
So what's your best tip to inspire others to start or grow their side hustle?
Yeah, my best tip is you have to do it. Enough of the planning stage, enough of waiting for the perfect timing. If you have an itch to do something, you owe it to yourself to try. I really believe that.
So you're going to be like that, like the boyfriend that you had that came in and saying, you're doing this today.
Exactly.
So that's what you're saying to our listeners and viewers. You're doing this today.
Doing this today. Why not? That's another part of the why not is remember that everything you've ever done in your life is going to help you move forward. You're never starting from square one.
Yes.
Never feel like you're starting fresh or starting over. You're starting from such a leg up just from being where you are, no matter where that is. So you have to try because you don't know how ahead you already are until you try.
Yeah. Because you went from that corporate marketing to flower solopreneur, but you're bringing that skill set with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Vienna, for sharing your story of Fiona and the flower truck and your adventures in the flower business, and for inspiring us to live our happiness. And of course, for being today's side hustle hero.
Thank you so much. I love your podcast. I've had such a joy listening to your past episodes, and it's been really fun talking to you today.
Thank you so much. When working with perishables like flowers, waste is inevitable, as you heard from Vienna. It's crucial to crunch your numbers and factor spoilage into your costs to maintain profitability. You'll learn how to identify flowers that are truly fresh and leave behind at the wholesalers those that just don't make the cut. And one more thing I want to mention. If you don't have someone like Vienna's boyfriend pushing you to take action, let me be that voice for you. You don't need to have it all figured out to get started, whether it's a flower truck or any other side hustle. The key is to take that first step and trust that you'll figure it out as you go. Risk a little, learn a lot. What I find so interesting about Vienna's story is how her business turned into something she didn't fully envision. She thought it would be mostly about selling flowers from the back of her truck, but events like corporate gigs, branding collaborations, and film shoots became a much greater part of her revenue. That shift happened because she was open to exploring new opportunities as they came her way. There's a great lesson in that for us. Whatever vision you have for your side hustle, don't be so locked into your original plan that you miss out on other possibilities. Your business can take you in directions you never imagined. And sometimes those unexpected turns can lead to something even better. So here's something to think about. What's one fear or excuse that's been holding you back? Maybe it's the worry that things won't be perfect, or the thought that you're just not ready yet. What if, instead of waiting for the right moment, which by the way never happens, you took the leap with what you have? Action brings clarity, and the only way to truly learn is by doing. Start thoughtfully, start prepared, but just start, and you'll prove to yourself just how capable you are. Well, that's a wrap for today. In the episode description, you'll find links to Vienna's socials and website, mainstreetflowertruck.com, my book, The Way Success Works, and the course, Turn Your Thoughts into Wanted Things, as well as a link back to the full show notes, which live at our website, sidehustlehero.com. If you're enjoying what you're seeing in this podcast, it would be so appreciated if you would take a moment and add your comment, share the episode, and please subscribe. It'll let others know that there's valuable content here for them to start or grow their side hustle. Thanks for watching, and hustle on.